Hello and welcome back to Craig's Crafty Chit Chat. Today we've got the wonderful Sue Balflour. You are the CEO of Katy Designs Limited. And I always get that wrong. And the number of years that I've known you as well, it's ridiculous. And you've been in the industry 16 years. It seems like a blink of an eye when we look at it. But for the audience and for myself, and correct me, please tell people who you actually are and what you actually do.
Well, tonight, Matthew, I am Sue. I'm Sue Balflour, and I am the founder and CEO of Katy Designs. And we manufacture creative products. So it's actually a group of creative companies that we have. And if there's a creative product involved, in other words, the customer who's using it at the end is doing something for a hobby or a small business in a creative way that they make something out of it, then there's a good chance that we're behind one of those products. And as Craig says, we've been in the industry a number of years now. I think it was 2004 when I first set this company up. But if I go back even further than that, it was me and my mum who set up Katy Dolls, which was, again, another creative business that was manufacturing little miniature porcelain dolls for the doll's house world. So I think it's well over 25 years now, actually. I think I'm probably getting close to 30 years in running a creative business.
Wow.
So getting old, Craig,
Wow.
getting old. It's no good.
I totally forgot about the Doll's House, because you used to advertise in the Doll's House magazine that
we did.
I was involved in many years ago. Now, people might not know this, but you actually started off as Flower Soft, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And actually getting into the craft space, as we all know and love, was actually with Flower Soft. Now, this is quite a unique product, but very, dare I say, easy without being detrimental.
Yes,
tell us
very easy.
how you got, because that's really how all of this has kind of grown. Yeah. This unique, innovative product has now just led on to more and more. So can you just tell me more about that?
Yeah, I'll try and keep it brief because I'm notorious for telling too long a story on this one. But yeah, as we kind of moved away from the miniature dolls business, I wanted to do, I enjoyed the business side of things. And back in the doll day, you know, I was literally involved in the making of these expensive miniature dolls, and I would paint faces and wig their hair. My mum would dress them and Noreen would dress them. So Noreen goes that far back with me as well.
We'll talk about Noreen shortly.
Yeah, well, I thought, no, I want to do something different. The children were getting older and I would like to concentrate on something that could be not reliant on the things that were in my hands, because there's a cap on things when you make it yourself. You can only produce how many you can physically produce. So anyway, that led on to thinking about how we might get involved in another creative type of business. I looked around and saw that card making was huge. And I thought, I wonder if we could make like little cameo dolls that would go on the front of this. The cards that could become a kit. Went to see Dawn Bibby, who was fantastically helpful, and told me, Sue, that's crackers. You'll never sell them to the card making industry because they're too expensive. But you know, if you do this and you do that and try and get the price down a bit. Anyway, even with getting the price down a bit, I mean, these card kits where you were making one card, I think they were about $8.99 or $9.99, and I'm going back years. Yeah. So she was, even at that, you know, I'm coming from somewhere that was hundreds of pounds a doll and thinking, God, this is so cheap. And I'd gone and went out to China and found the best doll manufacturers in the world and taught them how to paint like I painted. And we're all set up with this manufacturing. And one of the things that was a component of it was a material that made miniature flowers to go in the doll's hair. and I set up all the manufacturing ready for orders, but not placing my order, except for the material that went in the doll's hair. I have a lot of that made because it was quite specific, and we spent quite a lot of time working out how to produce that. Anyway, as proved right by Dawn, when I did the Stitches trade show, we had limited orders, which we fulfilled by hand, not to let anybody down. But it was a price point. Everybody loved them. Price point was wrong. Great lesson in business. But what I had left was lots and lots of this material. And we called it, well, I've missed a step out really. I said, what am I going to do with this? I got some glue and I wrote my daughter's name in glue and sprinkled it on like you would glitter over a glue. And when I tapped it off, it was my daughter's name in little flowers. And I said, this is beautiful. This has got to be a product in its own right. And we ended up calling it Flower Soft. Then it was Spring Mix. That was the first one that we did. And it was an absolute skyrocket product that was just all over the world. I mean, we had distributors in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Germany, South Africa, and we ended up setting our own business up in the United States because we were servicing 900 stores over there, and you couldn't really do all of that easily from here. I mean, you can, but they wanted to have something where they were just getting it much quicker from the US. So it was that, and then that led on to, okay, what are the designs that this product works on? And that took us into designing the papercraft side of things. So that was the early days of the papercraft side of Katy Sue Designs.
Yeah, and you've now gone into card making, cake decorating, and so many other paper cutting, and so many other things. Which, you know, as we talk, as we've talked about many a times, it's always good to have at least 4 or 5 different avenues for your business to go down, because you never know what the business landscape is going to be like, and if one fails, another one's going to pick up, which is always great business sense, right?
Yeah.
And Flower Soft is still selling now, isn't it? I mean, it's still going now, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously everything has a cycle, and that's why you're right, Craig. It's good to have, you know, not all your eggs in one basket. So expand it, taking what your skills are and putting them into other areas where you can develop a niche in that area as well is good for taking some of the risk out of the business. You know, at one time, Flower Soft was a huge part of our business, and now it's a very tiny part of our business. But there's certain colours are still just popular every year. So we've got to keep going with Polar White. But we are now in the very last offerings of Flower Soft as it is currently made, and we've got limited editions of certain colours. And when they're gone, they're gone. So
they're gone.
They're gone.
So retailers and designers and people, get them now while you can, I guess. Would be the message. And now, obviously, you've mentioned a fabulous name, who's a dear friend of mine who I love and adore, who's been with you since right at the beginning. We can't have an interview and not mention the fabulous Noreen, who's now retired.
Yeah, the original Flower Soft.
And she said she's retired, but I was pretty sure she dabbles and gets involved. But she was quite also, you know, when we do these kind of talks, we talk about staff and now, you know, kind of family unit that you kind of started with, but also now you have offices all over the world. How many people now work for Katy Sue? Because it started with quite a small micro family, didn't it? And now all of a sudden there's quite a lot of you.
Yeah, there was just me and my mum to start with, and then Noreen joined in year 2, so she came in year 2 of the business, and yeah, now there's 36 of us. We think probably by the time we get to the end of this year there'll be 50. It's expanding quite rapidly as we speak right now. You know, we've
even in these, sorry to interrupt, but even in these kind of tough times, you're still expanding, which is fantastic, right?
Yeah,
which is fantastic.
I think crafters always does well when the economy goes down anyway. But you know, I caveat that because I realise not every craft business is seeing a boom, and it is dependent on your own business setup. And you know, some retailers, for example, who haven't made the move online yet, they might be, well, they will be struggling, because obviously where we're talking right now, the pandemic has closed a lot of stores down. So it is you know, a broad brush to say all craft companies do well, but in a broad brush, if you're manufacturing a product that people want, you are doing well in this pandemic.
I think you're absolutely right. You know, from the association's point of view, we're helping so many businesses that are just purely bricks and mortar, that have shops that are closed. But actually what they can do is, there are tricks and tips that you can do to keep your business operational whilst this is closed down. Because, so you're absolutely right. I mean, we've been in this industry for a long time, and this isn't the only time where there's been an economic downturn. We've gone through a number of these, and we know that crafts stands up very well. But that said, you have to learn to adapt and change. And I know all these words have been used in so many business seminars and programs, and I know people are getting tired of them, but it is true. You have to change with what's going on, and be flexible enough to adapt, which is good. But again, in the same respects, going back to your point of having different avenues and different areas to go down and have, so that you can just service that supply, which is very good, because you've got two very different dynamics. You've got the dynamics of your business. You've got the paper craft side, haven't you? And then you've also got the cake side, which is the rubber molds. Is that the best way to describe
silicon,
them?
Silicon molds. Silicon molds. Yeah. In actual fact, we've got more dimensions than even that. So about 18 months ago, we acquired a local business that was in laser cutting, and I know Katy Sue has mainly just shown the MDF side of that. It doesn't actually do MDF for anyone else, it just does it for us. It's an acrylic business, it's called Acrylic Craft, and that services the maker market. So everyone with Cricut machines and electronic die cutting machines, you know, this personalization of gift. There's a whole Etsy industry out there, and you know, we have quite unique way of manufacturing to try to keep up with that demand that's out there for that. So we've got that sort of maker's side with the acrylic there. We've got silicon molds, which is for cake decorating. We've got silicon molds which are for craft, and we're expanding more into what we'll do with those craft molds. We've got print, which is new to the business. We acquired Craft Creations, which is very old, well-loved brand of paper craft from the very early days. People will recognise that name. But when those owners were retiring, we took all of their manufacturing equipment up here and the brand name, and we continue to supply die cut decoupage, peel off stickers, which I love. I have to put that out there. I've got to tell you, I've got great ideas for new designs in peel-off stickers. I think there's a whole revolution waiting to happen in that. So we've married that old sort of traditional die cutting technology. We've got about 4 Heidelberg machines here, and then we've got brand new, up-to-date, state-of-the-art digital. And the combination of these two things has been an absolute boon for us in terms of keeping up with the demand, because we were seeing it an increased demand anyway, but during certain points of lockdown, that has obviously gone through the roof with certain products like Adventures in Paper Cutting, which if you think about our traditional type of card making market, you would assume that they would never be interested in paper cutting because everybody loves a die and a die cut machine, and it's quick and it's efficient. But in actual fact, doing something totally by hand to create a piece of art for your wall is something that's an entry-level craft that is really open to the general public and not just what we would consider a crafter. So we've got actually quite a lot of things. I think the thing, as I said before, it's a product that goes to a creative person or somebody who wants to try something creative. And then the other part of that is we manufacture it here. And that has been obviously a benefit to us this year, because there's so many people, so many great companies in the craft industry, but they don't actually do the manufacturing.
And that must have been quite a leap of faith to manufacture it here in the UK, because obviously it's serviced you well now, and like the last 125 days or whatever it might be we're talking at the moment. So that must have serviced you well.
It does.
Over this period of time, because you're able to manufacture and get stuff out very, very quickly. Because as we know, it's been very difficult to import and export stuff just because of everything else that's going on at the moment. That must have been a massive leap of faith for you. But is that the key to sometimes in business being able to take an educated risk and go, well, if we don't do this now, we may never do that?
Yeah, I think you've got to look at your skill set and say, is there something in that skill set that can be expanded and turn into a revenue stream? If I go back to the start of our manufacturing, I told you that I'd gone to China to set up the flower soft side of the business. And in actual fact, I worked with one guy who set up his whole business around us and flower soft over there. So it felt like really he was an extension of our family, and some of the small scale manufacturing that we did for it over here. But that I learned in that experience about the difficulties with putting things on long shipping and forecasting. You have to forecast so much further in advance because you're importing it, and bearing in mind I was having to stock up some really massive quantities in each of these countries where we had distributors. So this time round I said, I want to manufacture everything, and I knew that we knew how to make molds, and because the team that we had, we'd retrained sort of the sculpting side of things into other areas of the business, but those skills didn't disappear, so we just brought them back to life. It probably took about 18 months to be able to produce molds efficiently. So we could produce molds inefficiently before that, no problem. But I mean, we currently produce about 1,500 molds a day, and we've got the capacity to do all that with the current production line that we have. And it's took time to learn all of that, and you've got to believe. Basically, you've got to know that you can do it, and you've got to be patient enough to ride out the bumps, which can really be quite bumpy, and have the belief that you're going to get there. That's what we did with molds. When it came to the paper craft side of things, the leap of faith was but making the investment of buy Craft Creations and moving that equipment up here, not having an expert to run all of those Heidelbergs. I mean, we didn't have that in the business at the time, but I just knew, following the molds, we can do it, and we have. So I think digital print has been quicker than that, because we only brought that in-house in the summer. But thank goodness that we did, because it's crazy busy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And one thing I'd like to note is that the people that are listening and kind of going, "Oh, fantastic! This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start manufacturing in the UK. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start expanding my business, and everything else," which is basically what we're doing. But this hasn't been an overnight thing or a 2-year thing. This has been 16 years or 30 years of hard work. I mean, you know, we go back a long time, and I remember even at trade shows where it's just having to grind it out and get through all of these trials and tribulations, and even losing luggage and stuff like that. You know, I kind of feel your pain, 'cause I've seen you step by step every single year do this. Yeah. And I always think that people always approach me and go, "Oh, I want to do this, and I want to get this done. And that's great, but there is steps to getting there. I think sometimes everybody wants to rush to be successful, and I think that's great if you have a eureka moment. But actually, your success story, and it is still growing now, has taken a lot of work and strong foundations to get to where you are today, right? Would that be fair enough to say?
That's 100% fair to say, Craig. I mean, as you say, it's a 25-year overnight success story with lots of ups and downs along the way. And I have had some big downs along the way. I've also had some really big highs, and it's trying to flatten the curve a bit and just get it on an upward angle. I think, as I say, belief is a big part of it, but you can't have blind faith. You know, if you really can't get anybody to buy anything that you do, you've got to ask, you know, is what I'm producing the right thing? Should I try a different look, a different avenue? But getting good advice and good connections is really important along the way. There's, you know, associations like yourself that people can connect with, but collaborating with other people can be one great route out of it. Nobody has the skills to do everything. I am seeing a growth now. You know, in the last 12 months, we, for the first time in Katy Sue, are developing a senior management team. I've never had a senior management team, but now we've got it in all of the key areas that I need to have. The logistics is just starting for me in April, and that is going to free up so much of my time to be able to take it to the next level. But you don't start there. You start with the same as everybody else out there. You start with 10 different hats that you're taking on and off all the time. You're packing the order yourself. I've done it all. I've done absolutely everything in here. And when you're starting, that's what you have to do. And then you have to put the building blocks underneath you. Now, sometimes you can, you know, be clever and be successful early with a product that will give you enough revenue to to hire the right person to take something off to grow another area. Sometimes it's more that you need to collaborate with somebody, looking around and saying, well, their skills will complement my skills, and if we got together, then 2 and 2 is going to make 5 here, or even 6. So finding the right people to work with is key.
I think one of my questions was going to be, what would be your top tips and advice? I think you've just given some really good ones there. But I think the underlying point of that, and I hope you don't mind me saying, is that understand that we can't do everything, and understand that you need to ask for help. And people like myself and the associations can connect you with good people that will help you. Because I think you get caught up in this, you want to expand, but I can't do everything. And I also think a lot of people go to Google, which is great for sort of information, but to get expert advice, you do need to ask people for that, because that's going to take you then to the next level, because you're not going to be able to, you're not an expert in everything. Ask the experts to do that.
No.
Would that be fair enough?
That's fair enough, and I think that I've given you an example, and it's in my nature to say, I put my hand up a lot and say, I don't understand that, or can you help me with this? I am a big one for asking for help. I mean, you've got experts in any field, and beyond that, the other people who I've gone to for help and advice are local business. It's surprising, people who are outside of your industry, what influence they can have. I've had some great local advice of businesses in South Shields, and of course I've been lucky enough to have a fellow director join me in the last couple of years as an investor, and Neil has been absolutely phenomenal in bringing a totally unrelated business, got nothing to do with craft at all, but he's all about sales. And what I've learned from being involved with Neil is that I wasn't about sales at all, and I was very much focused on, here's a product, what's the next product, because I love products, I'm a product girl. And those products fortunately have been good enough that they have just generated revenue. I mean, we used to laugh when we were in America, because we used to say, oh, you've had one of our reps in, and they would say, well, I haven't got a rep. No, it was the public. So other crafters would go into the stores and say, have you not got flour stuff? Have you not got... so the products carried all the sales. And you've got to hit lucky to do that. Really what you should be doing is thinking and focusing on sales, because that is the answer to generate the income, to generate the profit that takes you to the next bit. If you want to go to the next bit, not everybody does, Craig. I mean, there's a lot of people who run a business for a variety of reasons. It's not always about becoming a global brand or anything like that. There's a whole mixture of people who run businesses, isn't there?
Oh yeah, agreed. And me running the association helps them all. And it's interesting, because always one of my questions is, what does your success look like? Because everybody's vision of success and level of success is completely different to everybody else's. Some people want to be famous on TV. Some people just want to have enough money to put decent food on the table or buy a new car, whatever it might be. And I think that's always really important to understand, what is your level of success? Where do you want to take the business? Also think about having what's your exit strategy if you want one. So understanding what your level of success is and why you're doing your business. So I think that's fantastic. So you've given us some fantastic insight into yourself and also into business and to what people do. I can't thank you enough for taking the time
You're
So I know you're
welcome.
very, very busy with all your businesses and all your different hats that you still wear, I'm sure. But lastly, my last question that I'd like to ask you is words of intent for
Yeah.
2021.
Mhm.
It's things I'm asking industry professionals, industry experts like yourself to choose a couple of words that you want to achieve or do or be over the next 10 months, over for the rest of 21. Do you have those? And what would they be?
Mhm. Yeah, I do, and it's a great way to set off the year. By the way, Craig, doing that, I did that last year, and my intent was organisation. So, and I think the pandemic last year actually helped that in a weird way, because we had to change a lot of the way things were done because of it, to keep people safe. And obviously we've still got mountains of people working at home. So that makes you organise things in a different way to keep the wheels on the bus. This year, it's transformation and team. And I believe strongly that having the right people in your team is transformational. So we've expanded our team. And as I say, we've got another really key hire coming into the business in the next sort of 2 months. And we're going to totally transform the way that we started with the brand. So there was updated the logo a bit, and people might remember the other one being in the little box. So right. We're refreshing and modernising the Katy Sue brand, widening it up. We've already managed to reach a lot of more of the general public who are interested in doing something creative, rather than people who would, really call themselves a crafter. So transforming how we present and communicate, that it's right across the whole business. So transformation is absolutely the key. We're looking at every single area to transform it, which includes the premises that we're in, we're planning to move. But you can't do any of that without the right team. So I'm very, very blessed to have the people that I've got in Katy Sue. I really can't thank them enough for everything they've been doing in the last 12 months. It's dead exciting about where we're going next.
Well, I honestly can't wait to hear. I mean, we're going to catch up with you again in maybe 6 months' time to find out where you are, where you've gone from. Because I'd love to hear. I'm sure I'd love to hear, and I'm sure everybody that's watching would love to hear. But Sue, I thank you for your words of transformation and team. They are fantastic. And again, I really do appreciate your time, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And we'll talk again soon. So I wish you well, and have a fantastic next 6 months.
Okay, stay safe, Craig. Take care.